How you doing out there, folks? Yes, it's me, the Invisible Man versus Merrick Bank and the Robot, part 27. Yep, that's how many of these videos I've been doing, with this Invisible Man gimmick. I've done some before that. So I'm trying to keep everybody informed about this, because it's not a subject matter. These harassing phone calls, it's not a real exciting thing, but it does have some importance, because if you're going to put up with these phone calls, you don't have to. I've been at it, adding on these videos. I've been putting the songs that I wrote. And I did one with a duet. I'm going to try to do it again. It didn't really come out that good. But I'm going to try it now. The song I'm going to do this time is Marie, My Baby. I already put it on there, but a different version now. I had like a lot of different versions of the same songs. So I'm going to use this one because I think it might be a little bit easier, for me to try to do the duet. So it's something I just started to do. I didn't think about it before. See, by doing all this, it started me doing this now. This is something, another gimmick. Playing my songs was one thing, and now doing a duet is another thing. So we'll see how it works out. Now this song, because I wrote it for Marie when we first start going together, and and some of the things I say in the song, like some of the lyrics, if you would ever leave me, that would bring on the cries. When I wrote that, I know what it meant. It meant if she went to go with someone else, then I would, I would be so sorry, because I know it wasn't going to be me that leave her. I mean, she could have possibly wanted to leave me, but it never happened. And now she passed away, so she did leave me, and it did bring on the cries. So, I can put different meanings in these songs, So, I'm going to try and make the attempt to do it now. Let's see how it comes out. She walks down the street. She has every man at her feet. She gives them a smile. She makes it worth their while, because that's Marie, my baby. She's got what it takes, I know, because I have to put on the brakes. The sparkle in her eyes until the last goodbye. If she would ever leave me, that would bring on the cries. From the top of her head to the bottom of her feet, never find anyone as sweet. That's Marie, my baby. With a curl in her hair and a personality beyond compare, she's bright and out of sight. No matter what she wears, she always gets the stares. Just as the darkness signifies the night, and the daytime gives you the light, I never let my girl out of sight, because that's Marie, my baby. Whether sunny or rainy, windy or cold, a girl who's often quite bold, that's Marie, my baby. Wherever she goes, everyone knows that she's the one who always has lots of fun. And though she hasn't had fame, she'll always be the same, because that's Marie, my baby. Okay, how did that sound? Yeah, doing this duet is not that easy. But I was thinking, with my songs now, if someone wanted to take one of my songs, a singer, I have the lead sheets and all, they could actually sing the song on one track and play this on the other track, the demo, and put it together. It might be creating something different. You're taking the song over 40 years ago and you're bringing it to the present time with a singer, say a well-known singer. It was done already. I know it's been done. Remember Nat King Cole? He had done a song, I think it was Unforgettable. And Natalie, his daughter, after he passed away, she just did a duet. They remastered everything, and it sounded like she was actually singing a duet with him. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. But with my voice and all, the way it is, it's hard to do this because I can't match it up here. All I do is playing the song, and setting the volume, and then my voice to try to harmonize with with the demo. It's all right since I already played the song, by George Liberace. This version is by Hollywood Music Productions, and they did it a little bit different. It's more like a test recording. They just want to see how the lyrics sound with music. It's more of a test. But the demos that George Liberace did, they really had a lot of music and all the way it was and lively. They could have been actually released as a song. They were good enough. Okay, so I put that in there. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Something a little different. But these harassing phone calls, I can't get over it that easy, I'm still feeling that, what they did. That Merrick Bank did. Imagine calling me in November of 2019, and then a month and a half later call again, and another 80 calls, or 80 calls. Yeah, something wrong there. I don't know how unethical they can be, but they are unethical. Because this attorney that I have, he deals with them, with those kind of banks. Because he's a consumer advocate attorney. So he's dealing with this all the time. He's got a lot of cases, I know, with this Merrick Bank. Because he's had an advertisement in on the social media. You look it up. If you look up Merrick Bank, I think lawsuits or something, and you'll see all the different, as you scan it, you'll see all the different sections, And he's got an ad in there. A lot of lawyers do that. They'll put an ad in, for a different bank. He's got an ad in there, and it has some big print. If you bring it on the screen, it has big print. It says, if you're being harassed by Merrick Bank. Something like that, big print. So I decided to do all these videos because I want to make people know what you can do. I mean, if you're getting harassing phone calls out there, there's a lot of things you can do. If you think you can't get a lawyer because it costs too much and it would be more than what you owe, well, you couldn't do it. Well, you can, because the consumer advocate attorneys out there, you just have to find one. So you could do that. You could send a cease and desist letter, to the creditor or debt collector that's hounding you. But it might, the creditor might not stop, but the debt collector has to stop if you send that letter. You send a certified mail with a return receipt, and you just stay on there. Make sure you have your information. Make sure you're getting it to the right department of the credit card company. So you put in there, you date it and all, to whom it may concern. Cease and desist all communications with me. And that's it. That includes everything. You don't have to get into too much. They know what it means. And sign it, date it, keep a copy, and send it out. Once you get the green card back, that means they received it, and the call should stop. So that's something you could do if it's a debt collector. You know what they call that letter? I mentioned it before. That cease and desist letter is called a drop dead letter. That means when you send it to them, you're telling them they can't call you anymore. Tell them to drop dead. Stop the calls, I don't know who came up with that term, but well, that's what it's called. Okay, so you can do that. Of course, you can go bankrupt. You want all your debts wiped out. Say you have a lot. And even if your spouse, you can put on the same bankruptcy. Pretty sure. And then nobody could could do anything. You're under the protection of that. The calls have to stop. Collections, anything has to all stop. Yeah, so that's it. If you want to do that, only problem doing that is I think it's on the credit report for 10 years, and I think a bankruptcy looks very bad on your credit. I think even more than if you had a lot of accounts that were late, because at least it shows on the credit report that you were paying as agreed at sometime, and it sees that you're not paying and you're late. Well, at least it shows you were paying. If a bankruptcy, that's a big mark on there, bad mark on your credit. So I would think twice about that. You can do that, but what you really can do, I think, is the best alternative here for those calls, is to get an attorney. Now, I've been using this attorney for a lot of cases. His name is Paul Mankin, and he's helped me a lot, and he's still got this last case pending right now with this Merrick Bank. And you can call him toll free, and the number is 800-219-3577. That's 800-219-3577. An answer machine, a secretary, other lawyers there in the office, so you should be able to get a hold of them, just to discuss your case. It's a free consultation, so you're not going to have any costs at all here. And as far as paying him, you don't have to pay him. The services are free, so you don't have to, no matter what, whether you win the case or not. Of course, if he gets a case for you, litigation for you, well, the bank has to pay him, and the court costs. You don't have to pay nothing either way. So keep it in mind. If you feel like you might try that, I would try that. Because I know because I've done it. And I'm still working with me on this last case I have. I'll go into that more later. But that's a good thing for you to do. I started in the beginning with that, about this attorney, because he's very good and he's helped me. I know he'll help you. You can't take every case, but hopefully that he does take your case. That's one thing I didn't mention. There is debt consolidation. I don't know too much about it. I mean, I tried everything. I even tried that. You contact a company, give them all your accounts, and they contact the creditors, and they work out a deal, to make the payments less, the minimum payments, maybe reduce the interest, whatever. And they would pay them every month. And then that would be less than what you were paying every month. And then you would have to pay this consolidation company, whatever their fee is. See, I was doing it. I tried it, and it was good, but I had problems. Now, can you believe it? I thought that would stop the calls, right? It didn't stop the calls. I paid for like 2 or 3 months, and the calls didn't stop. And they're getting paid. Now, I contacted the consolidation company, and you know what they said? Oh, we call that rigging. Rigging? Takes a while for the credit department and the collection and department to catch up with each other. Oh, if that's the case, I'd have been better to pay myself, because it's costing me through the consolidation company to pay them, and I'm still getting the calls. So I ended up canceling the consolidation company. And would you believe it, after I canceled them, the calls stopped, of course. The rigging took place. But after that, then the calls started up again. So that's not good. I was trying to pay them. I thought if I could pay a little bit less a month like that, I might be able to do it without stopping paying. So I just mentioned it in case you're thinking of doing that. I don't think it's a good idea either. The best thing is, right now, is to try to stop the call, if you're getting the calls. If you can stand the calls, well, stand the calls. Then if you want to be harassed by Merrick Bank or any bank, go ahead, do it. I wouldn't want to wish that on anybody. So, okay, so you say you get a hold of this lawyer that I recommend, and he stops the calls. Now, you do owe the money. It doesn't absolve you of owing that money. So keep that in mind. You might not realize that, You're going to owe those debts. Now, you you could contact, the creditors and see if you can make an arrangement. If you want to do that, to stop the calls, you could do that. Depends how many accounts you have. If you have a lot of them and they'll all be coming late, it wouldn't be worth it to do it for one and not the others. So all you have to do is get a hold of this lawyer, and I'm telling you, he can help you. Okay, so back to this about that you still owe the debt. Now, the only way you won't owe it is if the statute of limitations runs out, expires. Now, in my case, well, it's going to be in 4 years in Pennsylvania. So it varies from state to state, so it's important to find that out. Okay, so in all these debts that I couldn't pay in my name, back in November of 2019, that the lawyer intervened, and put litigation and all. Okay, now, in less than 4 years, all those will be legally forgiven. That's what you got to watch out for. And I know about the debt collectors also. Debt collectors take all those bills. They buy bundles for pennies on the dollar. I call them scavenger debt collectors. They take any debts they can find. They don't care if it's 10 years old. They don't care if it's past the statute of limitations. They don't care if it's written off. They don't care. They're going to try to collect. And like in the case, Marie passed away, and that debt's uncollectible. Because it's in her name and it's not in mine, and we're not legally married. So I'm only an authorized user. So this bank would have a hard time trying to collect it, but if it's uncollectible, then the debt collectors don't care. They take all those accounts and they try to collect them. And they have all kind of offers and deals. Oh, sure, they could take off 50%. You owe $500, yeah, $250, and we'll call it clear. And they'll update your credit. Oh, yeah, that's all well and good. But you might be paying on the debt that's already past the statute of limitations. You don't know that. So don't make any deals with a debt collector, especially if you think it's an old bill. I wouldn't do it. Because these debts that they're trying to collect, they're zombie debts. Because they're breathing life back into these debts. They're already done. They're uncollectible, but they're still trying. So you got to be careful with the debt collectors. Now, so you do get contacted by a debt collector. You can, if they start calling you, because they do that too, you still can contact the lawyer that I told you about already. Just like me now, with all those accounts he worked on, I'm liable to get called in months from a debt collector, and I still have this attorney. I can still use him for that. So it's good to have an attorney. I think I mentioned enough about that now. And I'm going to try to go back where all the situation I'm in, because I keep mentioning Merrick Bank. For someone who might not have really viewed any of these videos yet, so you might be a first time, but I kind of doubt it. I have so many. This is the 27th one that I've done with this, this invisible man gimmick. And I've done before that a lot. So, this goes back to 2018. Me and Marie were at home there, not doing too much. I said, let me go get the mail. I went downstairs, I got it. It was bills as usual. And I took care of all that. Marie never done none of that. Since we were together over 40 years, all she did was, I guess, order the things. But I took care of all that. So, in the last 8 years, I've been paying her credit. It hasn't been that bad. So, Marie got a pre-approval there. I gave it to her. I didn't know what it was. It was from Merrick Bank. Oh, she wanted it. It was for $600. Double the credit line. So I said, okay, Marie. If you wanted it, it's in your name. We'll fill, we filled all the information on the computer. It did have a disclaimer there. I told her what it was. You gotta sign this to give permission for them to call you on the cell phone with an auto dollar and all that, and with text messages and emails and all that. He said, do I have to check it? I said, yeah, you have to check it because they're not going to give you the credit. She said, what? That doesn't seem right. He said, I don't care, let them call. Anyway, because you're paying the bill, so we know that we're not going to get no calls. I said, okay. She seemed to understand it, but she didn't agree with that. Because if Merrick Bank is using a vendor, a provider, to do those calls, to make those robocalls, That vendor's the one that's supposed to ask for permission, because they're the ones doing it. And they're combining those calls, getting permission with that offer. I don't think that should have been done separately. I don't know about that. Let's just say attorney will know that, so I don't have to worry about knowing that. It's what I think. It just doesn't seem right. I think that's where a lot of this is unethical. That's an unethical thing to be doing to people. They're giving you the credit, and they're making you say, well, you'll have to sign that or I don't get the credit. You were credit worthy, right? So why should you have to be a stipulation like that? Because they want to harass you. That's why. So in effect, you're giving them permission to harass you. But that's permission to call you, using that auto dollar and all that. It says text messages or email. How come they don't send a text message? It's the same phone number. Why don't they use a text message? I never get text messages about a payment. And, this is just a one-time thing. Why don't they do 4 text messages a day, every day? Why not? Because they know that that's not going to bother you. Because you could look at a text message or not look at it, or pay no attention to it at all. They know with the phone ringing and annoying you. Well, that's why. That's why I noticed that. Now, all the calls I received, there's no recording. They don't leave a message, and when you pick it up, there's nobody there. So let me go back to this again. So the pre-approved and always re-okayed everything. She couldn't wait. She put me down as an authorized user. So once 7 on-time payments were made, the credit went from $600 to $1,200. So the time passes. Marie's ordering everything. She's happy now. She wasn't before because she's suffering from that general anxiety disorder. So this made her happy. It really changed her personality, like the way I like it. I was happy with it. She was ordering and she was staying that way. Her personality stayed like that. But once all the novelty wore off and the other money went in, she started to get sicker again. She started a cough and congestion. We're going to the doctors every month. So he gave medication. It helped, an inhaler and all. And he told me, Frank, if it doesn't seem to help, better get in the hospital to get tests, because, here we can only do so much. So I took his advice, and I got her into the hospital. Marie agreed. She didn't feel good. I said, Marie, you're going to feel a lot better. Because she trusts me and believes in me from all the years we've been together. She knows I'm only doing for her own good, So, got her there. It took, I guess, 2 or 3 days. All those tests, a lot of them. Brain scans and everything. I think they took some fluid from her lungs and she started feeling better. So medications and all now would change, and the doctors told me you're going to need long-term care because you can't do it at home. Your age, you're not young either. You're going to need too much help there. It wouldn't work. She needs to have 24/7 care for, but she's supposed to be, to get better enough to go back home. So I agreed. I found one that was nearby, about a mile from the house, and I could walk it every day, and see her. I didn't go every day. I tried to go as much as I could. In the beginning, she was a little bit shaky. She had therapy, and medicine start working. So over 4 months, just about the end of the 4th month, she was a lot better. I was surprised. Looking better, feeling better, everything. Talking better. And speaking of talking, you know what she said? A couple of times she asked me, "Oh, Frankie, by the way, hope you're still paying Merrick Bank." Well, I said, "Yeah, Marie, don't worry about that. That's important to pay." She said, "Yeah, my credit, I don't want it messed up." I said, "Don't worry, Marie's taken care of, and whatever, I've been bringing you a lot of stuff. I've been using that card." "Oh, yeah, that's good." She told me what she wanted, and I brought her bring her thing. But see, she mentioned that. So we get into the 5th month over there at the nursing home. And I noticed she's starting to get worse. Little by little, with that respiratory distress, with all the other things. That dementia and Alzheimer's and all these things. Yeah, she's just started to get worse. It was staying about the same, probably because of the medications and all. But those people there, there's a lot of new people all the time. They're understaffed. Like the people that know her condition would have noticed that more. New people don't know. They might think that's normal for her to be like that. They may never come there again and work. That's the things that were worrying me about that. I told them about it, the head nurses or whoever they are. They said, no, that's no problem because doctor comes here and we have a nurse here. If they notice any real drastic changes, they're going to change medications, they're going to give treatments, and they'll also send her back to the hospital. So that's not really, you shouldn't be worried about that. I said, okay. But then by the end of the 5th month, I noticed she was really starting to get worse. And at the end of the month, I went Thursday, Saturday, and Monday. And on that Monday, we had dinner in the dining room. Lunch, I say. Well, I call it lunch. I brought food for me so I could eat with her and make her feel better. We're eating together like before. And I brought her some different things that I know she likes. Oh, she ate it and all. And she said she wasn't too hungry. I told you got to eat. It's important. You're taking medications and all. So I got her back to her room. Got her in bed and all. And she seemed, okay, calm, but not really that good. So I said, okay, I'll come back as soon as I can and keep up the good work, and so we can get you home. I'm trying to keep her spirits up, So I went home, and I was upset, and, worried about it. So I said, I'll wait a few days and see how her condition is. I went back there on a Saturday around lunchtime, and she's in the bed. She's not moving around. She's like sleeping. Just looked like she's sleeping. I asked the roommate. She said, no, she's been like that a couple of days, and she doesn't want to eat either. I said, well, no, they didn't call me or nothing. That's what I say. That place wasn't that good. I mean, leave her, I guess, because she's that quiet. You're not screaming or nothing. I hope they didn't give her, over medicate her to keep her calm like that so she wouldn't be bothering them. I don't know, because I heard they do that. That's the first thing that came to my mind, but I can't prove nothing. Okay, so I said, well, the food came for lunch. And I said to the lady, can you help me? Oh, sure. Help me get her up. And she could move around, and she was sitting up, and she was moving her head back and forth, side to side, and she can't open her eyes. I don't even think she could hear me too good. I think she could. She's had the pureed food, plus then now it was on a mesh diet. So everything looks about the same, how they make it. So I started trying to give her a little bit of food. She took it, in her mouth. It's all soft. And she swallowed a little bit. I didn't want to do too much, And then some water to wash it down. And then I said, let me get her back down, She seems like she was drifting off, Got her down calm and everything. And she wasn't coughing or nothing. I said, maybe I can still revive her. I can do whatever I want. I mean, up to me. I started massaging her back and everything, seeing if I can, maybe get some circulation. If I could get her just to, to get up, wake up. But it looks like she's in a stupor, doped up. So hopefully it would, wear off, whatever it was. Okay, so at home, I used to always massage her feet. And she would get to wake her up. So I said, let me massage her feet. I massaged her feet, and she said, stop that, Frankie. I said, okay, Marie, if that's what you want, I want to leave you alone. She'd be there here, she just wanted to sleep. I went home. I was so worried. I didn't like leaving her to see her like that. I like to see her up, But she did mention my name, so I figured she knew I was there. I wasn't going to just abandon her, So I tried to go home. I was restless. I couldn't really sleep. So the phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning from the nursing home. I said, oh, man. I was really... The nurse says, I'm sorry to inform you that when I did my bed checks, Marie was, not responsive. So we started to work on her. And we had to rescue, but it was too late. She passed away. We couldn't revive her. I said, but when I was there, I don't know, hours ago at lunchtime, she was still, responsive, but not that good. She said, yeah, I wasn't here. I don't know. So that was it. I made all the arrangements. I didn't know what to do. I was so alone. I'm still alone now. And no family or nothing. So I started to work on all the bills and all. I said, oh no. That's when I got the lawyer. He took care of all that. I didn't have to worry, But I was still paying Merrick Bank. That's the thing. I kept paying for a few months because I figured, well, the call stops. I can still use it. I have a card in my name. And Marie liked that account so much that in memory of her, I said, well, let me try to pay, because she wanted me to pay it. But I reached a point of no return that I just couldn't pay it, because I knew sale was short here for the housing costs and the utilities, and I'm not going to take that money and give it to Merrick Bank when I need it for here. So I didn't pay. So the first month I knew nothing because they had to put the late fee on. Remember that late fee, $39. So I got the first statement. I noticed there was the late fee. I said, well, and it says on there to avoid more late fees or something, or go into collection, make a payment or call the number or something. So actually nothing happened. So right after that, about a few days after that, this was in November of 2019, the phone started. I saw Merrick Bank on the landline, and on the cell phone, no, because it doesn't come up the name. It just comes up the number. So I said, well, I already have, books I use for the calls. Now lately I haven't been writing anything, but then I did. Yeah, I have one book for the landline and one book for the cell phone, to keep track of all the calls. Well, I started on both, more on the landline than the cell phone, like twice as many calls. And they were calling on Sunday and everything. They don't care, of course. They have that all set up, So I waited a couple of weeks. I said, well, I better contact a lawyer. That's why it's nice to have an attorney. Contacted him. I told him. He said, don't worry, got all the information. And the call stopped. First the cell phone, then the landline, whatever the reason for that is. They might have two different systems there set up with the numbers. We're using 6 different numbers to call. And all of them go back to the call center, so they're all valid. Okay, so now that stopped. And I still kept, I think I got another bill after that, another late fee. So now going from $1,200, by now it's up to $1,500. So they're getting, making you owe more money, and you didn't really use that money to buy things. So, okay, so now about a month and a half, like I said, now January 2nd, here we go, the phone calls. Right away, Merrick Bank. A couple calls, and all of a sudden 4 calls a day, every day, but they didn't call on Sunday. No reason for other than that's more harassment. Didn't call on Sunday. What's that supposed to do? Make you feel at ease? So, I'll relax now. So get relaxed, and then start the calls again. So Saturday 4 calls, like in the afternoon and evening. Then Sunday nothing. Monday nothing until the afternoon and evening. Now it started again, 4 more calls. Now that's not harassment. I mean, I let it go for about 2 weeks, a little more. I just wanted to see. That was just a landline. I contacted a lawyer, and I told him. And he says he's going to reach out to them. I figured, well, I know they'll probably stop it again. And it didn't stop. I waited another week, and I contacted him. He said, we're going to make them stop. Don't worry. And that's it. Call stopped. Well, imagine what litigation in that they were calling me again. I know I'm an authorized user. They don't know who's getting those calls. They can't say that those calls were intended for Marie, because they don't know who's on the other end of the line either. Because if they say that, fine, she's already passed away. So I'm the one that got the calls. And if they say, well, how do we know that you got the calls? Well, very easily, because I wrote them down. And I'm an authorized user on the account. So I can prove I got the calls. Can Merrick Bank prove they didn't make them? No. Can they prove they didn't harass me? No. They can't. They really can't. But so you have to get an attorney to litigate it, because the Consumer Protection Bureau or anything like that, they're not going to intervene. Even though there was laws violated, they say you have to get an attorney. They could verify it, but they're not intervening. The only way they would intervene, if they get a lot of complaints, then they might fine them or do something, against them. But otherwise, you have to get an attorney. So now they're calling me over 80 calls in January of 2020. That's an awful lot of calls. Just within a month. You know, I kept track of it all. That's how I know. That's why I say important to keep track of that. I'm trying to figure out, why did they call me with litigation pending, you know? Lawyer doesn't say nothing. He knows. He knows that they're unethical. He knows what they do, you know? So, I start checking it out, you know? And I looked at the cardholder agreement that came with the credit cards. And it does say, I think it's part 22 in there, about when they can contact you and all. It mentions about an attorney. That if you have an attorney, they have to have his name, address, phone number, and all that. And then they can't contact them in 45 days, and he doesn't contact them in 45 days, they can start to contact you again. It doesn't say they're going to start making the calls again, but that's what it means. If they stop the calls, from the date they stop the calls, 45 days later they can call you. But see, there's litigation in. So it is safe at the 45-day rule. So 45 days from when they stop calling me. I know it's in this month, March, actually. I thought it was in April, but I want to see when the 45 days are up again. I don't think it's going to happen now, because he's contacting them, you know, every 2 weeks. So I'm sure by now it's pending, you know, the case. But over 80 calls, I don't know if he's going to try to do another litigation for those 80 calls, because that's harassment right there on the landline. Especially with a case pending. There's a case pending already for the calls. That's what I say. Those are things you got to watch out, you know, for. Let's just say, I know that I have the attorney, and I'm glad. That's why I say. Otherwise, I might be still getting the calls, or, you know, I couldn't stop them with the cease and desist letter. But otherwise, I would still be doing that, you know, putting up with that. You don't have to withstand it. From Merrick Bank or any bank, I say it over and over again. So right now, that case I have with Merrick Bank is pending. It really got me ticked off. You know, in January when those calls started again. I mean, I didn't say 45 days. I said a month and a half. Same thing. Month and a half. Half a month's 15 days, and consider a month 30, that's 45. It was 45 days. As I said, a month and a half. So that shows you what can happen. So it's important that you do something about it. I don't know, by now, after all, this is the 27th part of this these videos I've been doing. Hopefully, every time I do one of these, at least I get to one person that might be having problems out there, trying to help. You know, if you're getting those calls, I'm telling you, you don't have to withstand it. Okay, I'll give you the name of the attorney again. His name is Paul Mankin. That's M-A-N-K-I-N. Toll-free number, 800-219-3577. 800-219-3577. You don't have nothing to lose. Free consultation. You're not, you don't have to take the service if you don't want. It's up to you. I would think about it. See what you can do, because if more and more people, you know, litigate these banks, you know, they get enough of it, they might have to change something here, you know, with these calls. You would think they were trying to come up with a way to make the calls but not make it harassing. By doing the way they're doing, it's definitely harassing. Forget about this auto dollar thing. We know that they already circumvented the law by you have to get permission. Permission, like I said, permission to harass you, right? There's just a lot of things, because there's the phone laws that is in play here, you know? Because when they're calling like that, they're calling on the phone, right? They're supposed to leave a message. Or if you pick it up, there's supposed to be a recording. It's not. So I think there's something wrong there. Because I got a couple calls here recently, but not, it wasn't Merrick Bank. Okay, so it comes up on the caller ID, it says anonymous. And I've been seeing that, you know. a couple. I've been seeing it here every once in a while, So I picked it up, and there's a recording. But they didn't leave a recording on the answer machine, but when I picked it up, they did. It says, you got to call us about your account because we owe you a refund, and they give you a number to call. Now, that's a gimmick. You're going to call them, and they're going to tell you have a $300 refund, and we need your checking account and all your information so we can, return it to you. I know that that's a scam. But now Anonymous came up. I don't know if you know it or not. You punch in *67 on your phone and you call somebody, it's going to either say anonymous, it might say unknown caller, it might say private. Different things can come up or restricted. So they had that probably set up. Comes up anonymous. And you're supposed to call a number back and talk to somebody, huh? And another one of those calls. It's definitely a scam. It's a Social Security scam. I picked up the phone, it's a recording. Only reason I'm bringing this up, Merrick Bank didn't have no recording when you pick up the phone. Nobody's there. So that's why I'm mentioning this. So back to this Social Security, I picked it up and it's a recording. It says your Social Security number has been suspended because of fraudulent activity. First of all, I know it wasn't Social Security because, first of all, I didn't give them the landline number, and they're not supposed to call you like that, about that. So I called it back. The number they said to call back, some guy comes on. He says he's a Social Security officer, and he's asking me for my information. I said, well, don't you have it? Well, we got to make sure it's you. Well, you know it's me because I called you. I said, well, I'm not giving it to you, and I hung up. I called Social Security, and he said, yeah, that's a scam. We don't call you. We would have sent you by mail. So there's another thing with the calls. I just wanted to show that. Merrick Bank is not doing that. I got over 60 calls in November 2019 and over 80 calls in January 2020, and not one time was there a live agent. Not once. So that tells you right there, that's part of the harassment. You got to call them, huh? So if they bother you enough, you're going to call them, and you could then make an arrangement to pay them or one of their offers or whatever they have, I think that they're doing it wrong. I've had other accounts, all the accounts me and Marie had, and other ones have called and leave a message, and I call them back and all, and they talk to you about it. In this situation, since Marie passed away, her account was uncollectible, and I'd be the authorized user, not just on the Merrick Bank, on all these other accounts. They said, don't worry, her account, we can't do nothing. You're not legally married. You don't have the marriage license. We just need the death certificate. We'll take care of her account. Your account, we can suspend it for like 3 months, and if you can pay, we'll adjust everything. If not, it's going to go to collection. That was the end of it. Now, Merrick Bank doesn't do that, do they? They don't do that. I think, since they have it all set up, they might have to hire more people. I don't know. To pick up those, to do those calls. I think they should have a list printed out, maybe because they have so many accounts, it'd be hard to do in all the locations where they have these call centers. But I think they ought to have it in such a way, once the late fee goes on, try to contact the person with a live representative and find out what's wrong. Because if they would have called me, I would have told them. I said, no, I was trying to pay. I'm the authorized user. She passed away, and she can't, but I couldn't either now. So with all that, talking to a real person, well, what would have probably happened? They would have got the supervisor, and they would have said, well, we'll work it out. We can't do too much. We'll let you know, or something. We need the death certificate again and all that. You know what that means if they would have done that? There's one account that would be off the list. There's one account that there wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have got any calls in November of 2019. I wouldn't have got any calls in January 2020. There wouldn't have been no litigation, no lawyer, no nothing. I wouldn't be doing all these videos either. So you see how that's an example of what they need to do. And then they wouldn't be making harassing phone calls. There's a lot of instances where people are having problems. Maybe if they call them and leave a message, or with a live person, they might be able to work it out before it gets too far. Then if it doesn't, they can still put it onto the robo system. They're not doing that. Not now, they're not. And because, for me to have litigation against them, I think it could have been avoided. Because they don't get too many. Probably, they know how many cases they get like that. They settle them out of court, and they're very few and far between. So that they don't worry about it. It's a cost of doing business. But if they get more and more of them, they might have to consider some other kind of system. It'll cost them more than what the money they're trying to collect. So that's why I'm bringing all this up. I'm trying to make everybody aware of it. That you just don't have to put up with it. So I think that's about it. I think I covered everything like I usually do. But again, if you're interested in any of, my songs, I was doing that before. Before I started all this. You can punch my name in, Frank Leeper, Leeper, on YouTube, and you're going to see all my videos. And plus all these ones, this Invisible Man videos. I like the gimmick, The funny thing about it, there's a movie out now, The Invisible Man, in the theaters, so it just so happens it coincided with it. I didn't plan it that way. I'm wearing a disguise. I really have nothing to hide. Because I'm transparent, the term, because I have nothing to hide. Now, Merrick Bank is not transparent. I mentioned this before. Because they're unethical. And if you're unethical, you're hiding something. You're doing things you're not supposed to be. And that's what they're doing. You hear that term transparent. Like when all these, when they're going for the president and all these different debates and all, they're saying they're transparent. And that's what it means. They have nothing to hide. Everything's there. I don't, that's for sure. I don't. I'm hiding behind a disguise, but I don't have nothing to hide. Merrick Bank, are they invisible? You can't see them when they're making the calls. They're not coming to you face to face and talking to you. So that's why I come up with this comparison. So now I'm the plaintiff. That's really, let's say, and they're the defendant. So Invisible Man versus Merrick Bank and the robot. Because if you take that away from Merrick Bank, they can't do that anymore. There wouldn't be any case then. Well, I kind of like that comparison. Because nowadays robots, they can do anything, but a human being has to program it, so however they want to use whatever formula they use to try to get results. So I know one thing, I don't think it's a good system. When you have to get those calls like that, and the way they do it, it's annoying. It's definitely annoying. And I know what they're doing. That's the funny thing about it. It's not like I don't know and I don't get it. See, when you're writing them all down, that's how you know. That's why it's important to have the phone log. I say this all the time. All you have to do, if there's more than one bank calling you, keep it separate. It'll be easier. Now, if it was Merrick Bank and you have two numbers like I did, I have one call log for one number and one for the other. All you have to do is put down the date, the time, the number they used, any comments or anything like that. All you have to do. I mean, it seems simple enough, but you'd be surprised when you have to do it. It's not. So I found out since Merrick Bank is using 6 different numbers, well, and they were all valid numbers. So I said, wait a minute, they're calling me 4 times a day. I'm using 4 lines. So I decided to say, well, put the date, the day, and the number they're using in the comment. Then underneath on the second line, just put all the calls. You'll fit about 6 calls. Make sure you put AM or PM. Make sure you have that. When you have that, now it's only 2 lines instead of 4. So you cut it down. I've gone over this a lot, and I have put an example of it, in some of the videos I've been doing. So It's up to you. You can make your own any way you want to do it. But just get it written down somehow. It doesn't have to be great. You contact the attorney because he's going to ask you, what do you have? Any letters or any, whatever you have. Any information. And the phone calls is the main thing. So if you're getting these calls and you know you're being harassed, if you think you're being harassed, chances are you're being harassed. So that's why it's important to have the times on those calls and all. Which you can do, but if you already gotten a lot of calls and you didn't, keep track, you can still do it and then wait a week or so, contact the attorney. And then he can take it from there. I think you can contact the phone company and get a printout of the calls too. So it's nice to have it because the numbers they use is important because it all has to be gone over in a litigation, everything. I think that pretty much sums it up here for now. If any changes, I'll let you know. Okay, again, Consumer Advocate Attorney Paul Mankin, Mankin. He can help you. Toll-free number, free consultation. Here's his number: 800-219-3577, 800-219-3577. I'm going to have it in the description, all this information too. And other things I might put in the description. That's up to you. You could read the description and not even view the video. But again, I think you should think about it if you didn't already contact them, Okay, I think that's about it for now. Because I'll discuss things in this video that I didn't do in all the other ones. It depends. If any changes, I'll put it in there. And some of it I'll summarize more than others. So I want to really thank you for your time. And have a great day.